After the most dramatic week in the Cronulla Sharks history, the fans flooded in to show support for their embattled club. Port Gallen often wears his heart on his sleeve. In this case, the skipper was displaying a reminder of staff members either sacked or stood down. In a tightly contested first half, a monster boot from Todd Carney was impressive.
And now Carney from inside the 40, a kick which finds the line, and they'll have a big chance here to open their account.
But this was the kick that really mattered.
Bombing away again towards Ryan, up against Gordon, but it's Wright who comes down with it. Matthew Wright grabs the try, and the Sharks have the lead.
Not to be outdone, Luke Bailey turned on the kind of flashy footwork more familiar to the round ball game.
I think he surprised himself. Watch this, 1, 2, over the top.
But the Titans were unable to crack the home side's defence, Cronulla taking a 6-0 lead into the sheds. 8 minutes into the second half, Aidan Caesar took a leaf out of the Todd Carney playbook.
It's Mead up against Wright, David Mead. He wins the contest, and the Titans, they have their first try.
But the Titans then found themselves camped in their own half for 4 straight sets. Smart dummy half-works from John Morris proved to be the circuit breaker.
Morris working quickly, juggling. Here is Fafita. Andrew Fafita.
The Sharks then found room to move out wide.
He cuts out. Lettelli gives it to Wright, who went to the corner.
But Wright's celebrations were premature, the winger's foot clearly in touch before the grounding. The Titans' first try came from a bomb, and Albert Kelly launched an aerial raid in the same corner, hoping for the same result.
Pressure on Gordon, Mead is there, it came backwards, back to Taylor, who is back out there.
The Coltrane steaming through for his first try in Gold Coast colours. But Caesar's conversion attempt was unsuccessful, leaving his side trailing by 2. A desperate last-ditch effort from the visitors came to nothing. And after a hellish week, the players and the 17,500 loyal fans showing solidarity in the Shire finally had something to celebrate. The Sharks grinding out a narrow win that will no doubt live on in the minds of the Cronulla faithful. Melinda Farrell, NRL.com.
It had been 11 days since South Sydney ignited the 2013 Telstra Premiership by casting aside the Sydney Roosters. A heck of a lot has happened since then, as their round 2 opponents on Monday Night Football would surely attest. Cronulla showed truckloads of spirit in their campaign curtain opener to edge out Gold Coast. But they'd need more of that and then some to beat the Bunnies, who began like their long layoff was no hindrance whatsoever.
Sutton, give it to Reynolds, an early kick. Everingham with all the space in the world.
Reynolds' radar boot was just as lethal across the carpet as it was in the air.
Rubbering this time, looking for the space. He found it once again. What a genius Reynolds is. You can't kick them any better than that.
For the Sharks to have any show in this contest, they needed Todd Carney at his creative best.
Carney again, getting plenty of touches. Asatasi came out shooting for him. Hyington, his ball goes to ground. Gordon stepping back on the angle. He's in. And the Sharks have hit back. And you got the impression they certainly needed to be next to score here in this game tonight.
Following 3 tries in a frenzied opening quarter, the standard of this affair took a big dive in the next 20, with Adam Reynolds' penalty goal from out wide being the only other points of the half, putting South up by 8 at the break. And it was just as frustrating for fans, coaches and commentators after the resumption, especially from a Rabbitohs point of view, as they saw a couple of healthy opportunities go by the wayside. After Bryson Goodwin failed to find an unmarked Greg Inglis, the South centre was again culpable when he interfered with Todd Carney on a decoy run that saw Nathan Merritt cross in the corner. The Red and Greens were punished for their wastefulness when they got it horribly wrong in the same corner of the ground.
Farrell to Merritt, the ball went to ground. Ryan picks it up. There's nobody in front of him. Reynolds is chasing. We know he can run. Ryan, though, winning the race, going
Michael Gordon trimmed the margin to just 2 with his conversion, and Cronulla were left hoping that the Carney-Ryan combo could conjure up a match winner.
Chipping out wide. It's Ryan up against Merritts. Ryan got to it, it looked like, and lost the ball forward.
The Rabbitohs had another 4-pointer rightfully disallowed with 90 seconds remaining when Adam Reynolds strolled through a hole with ridiculous ease that stemmed from Isaac Luke taking out his marker, Anthony Tupou. But fortunately for Michael Maguire's men, it didn't cost them the match as they hung on by 14-12 to remain undefeated. David Rollins, NRL.com. After 2 weeks in exile, Shane Flanagan was back at the helm of Cronulla Sutherland. The end of his club-enforced suspension was well received by the Sharkies faithful, who flocked to the footy on a day that was much better suited to the beach. The popular coach's return also spelt bad news for the New Zealand Warriors, who were anxious to open their account for 2013, but found themselves on the back foot from the outset.
Here's the last for the Sharks. It's Carney running from acting half, looking for Morris! John Morris gets the first try for the Sharks.
With temperatures licking 30 degrees, a drinks break was taken at the 20-minute mark, giving Sheikh Mannering and his troops a chance to regroup after an awful opening quarter. However, all the wealth in this part of the world belonged to the locals and their well-oiled machine.
Eventually gets the offload back to Robson. Up the middle, Morris. Here's Gordon! Under the crossbar, well worked. The Warriors are wilting.
Nobody enjoys tormenting a tiring opposition more than Todd Carney.
Working their way patiently towards the in-goal area. Carney kicks over the top. Perfect for Bo Ryan. He put it on the outside of his boots. Straight onto the chest of his winger.
Michael Gordon knocked it over from out wide on the cusp of half-time, sending Cronulla to the shade of the sheds with a comfortable lead of 18-zip. Warriors boss Matthew Elliott urged his men to at least win the second half and save face, like they did last week against the Roosters. But 5 minutes into the new term, they fell further behind.
Bakuya, infield, Tagatese, plenty of Sharks there, not many Warriors. Tagatese goes himself, slam and Sam, Tagatese. What a run, the crowd loved it. They were up and riding him home from the 30-metre line.
It was a thoroughly forgettable afternoon where nothing went right for the outgunned Aucklanders, who needed to realise every respectable opportunity that came their way.
They stay on 0.
Their defence was just as shabby as their finishing.
Now dummying and running, Robson gets into the end goal. And this will be a try to the Sharks half.
The Warriors were able to finish with a 4-pointer through centre Conrad Hurrell 6 minutes out from the final siren. But it would have done precious little to ease the pain of the club's 11th consecutive defeat. In sharp contrast, everybody's smiling again in the Shire. David Rollins, NRL.com.
Saturday night in the Shire, the Dragons searching for their first win of the season. Halves pairing Nathan Thien and Jamie Soward under the pump to produce some form to save coach Steve Price. Prop Trent Merrin chimed in with some deft playmaking skills.
Merrin up the middle and an offload to Thien, who rolls into the end goal. Nathan Thien gives the Dragons the lead. Set up by the run from Trent Merrin, along with the offload.
A sloppy start from the Sharks gifted Jamie Soward open pasture.
The ball has gone to ground, and Jamie Soward is away. Ryan had a dive, he couldn't get him. Carney's given up. Jamie Soward will give the Dragons back-to-back tries.
And under siege, Soward pumped up. Previously unseen creative flair penetrating Cronulla's defence.
Soward says we'll come back the other way with a chip. Thank you very much. It went straight to the Dragons and was dropped. Nightingale blows a golden opportunity.
Sharks' hearts sunk when Todd Carney was helped from the field with a potentially serious foot injury. The Blues 5'8" spent the off-season recovering from a snapped Achilles. With their most lethal weapon gone, Jeff Robson took the reins.
A grubber. Soward is there, the ball bouncing. The back bucket's still alive. This could be a miracle try for the Sharks.
Ben Pomeroy orchestrating a miraculous try. The hosts heading back to trail 12 points to 6 at the main break. Carney was on ice. The Dragons were on fire.
Brazil with an offload. Quick hands from Beale. Glorious play. A spectacular finish from Nightingale. And the Dragons celebrate more points.
The big Tiger Shark, Andrew Fafita, barged over, reducing the deficit to 6 before the freakish skills of Nightingale were again showcased.
Feed along the ground. Nightingale!
The Saints showman scoring a sensational double, loosening the noose on the coach before Soward sunk the boot in.
Jamie Soward with plenty of time. He's nailed it.
The Dragons with a relieving 25 points to 12 victory. Liam Cox, NRL.com. Saturday night in the Shire, the Dragons searching for their first win of the season. Halves pairing Nathan Feen and Jamie Soward under the pump to produce some form to save coach Steve Price. Prop Trent Merrin charmed in with some deft playmaking skills.
Merrin up the middle and an offload to Feen, who rolls into the in goal. Nathan Feen gives the Dragons the lead. Set up by the run from Trent Merrin along with the offload.
A sloppy start from the Sharks gifted Jamie Soward open pasture.
The ball has gone to ground and Jamie Soward is away. Ryan had a dive, he couldn't get him. Carney's given up. Jamie Soward will give the Dragons back-to-back tries.
And under siege, Soward pumped up. Previously unseen creative flair penetrating Cronulla's defence.
Soward says we'll come back the other way with a chip. Thank you very much. It went straight to the Dragons and was dropped. Nightingale blows a golden opportunity.
Sharks' hearts sunk when Todd Carney was helped from the field with a potentially serious foot injury. The Blues 5'8" spent the off-season recovering from a snapped Achilles. With their most lethal weapon gone, Jeff Robson took the reins.
A grubber. Soward is there, the ball bouncing. The back bucket's still alive. This could be a miracle try for the Sharks.
Ben Pomeroy orchestrating a miraculous try. The hosts heading back to trail 12 points to 6 at the main break. Carney was on ice. The Dragons were on fire.
Brazil with an offload. Quick hands from Beale. Glorious play. A spectacular finish from Nightingale. And the Dragons celebrate more points.
The big Tiger Shark, Andrew Fafita, barged over, reducing the deficit to 6 before the freakish skills of Nightingale were again showcased.
Feed along the ground. Nightingale!
The Saints showman scoring a sensational double, loosening the noose on the coach before Soward sunk the boot in.
Jamie Soward with plenty of time. He's nailed it.
The Dragons with a relieving 25 points to 12 victory. Liam Cox, NRL.com.
Following the 50-0 thrashing by Sydney Roosters, Parramatta started long shots to win the inaugural Johnny Manor Cup in honour of the former Shark, who lost his battle with cancer in January while preparing to play for the Eels. Parramatta camped in the Sharks' waters early on, but Tim Manor couldn't touch down. Bo Ryan found touch without kicking the ball before the Eels slithered through.
Now the tour again, they go to Morgan, and again he's on the outside of Pomeroy. And Ryan Morgan is killing them on the left edge for Parramatta.
Luke Lewis gave Vi Tutai a tough how do you do before the Sharks nosed ahead with a bizarre try in the last tackle play midway through the half.
Under pressure, it comes to the Sharks.
Just sits up on the crossbar. That's a tough one as Hyington arrives and he pops the ball up straight into Michael Corden.
Nearing half-time, luck switched to the Eels' favour when Jared Hayne kicked.
It bounces back to Kelly. He gives it to Morgan. Luck's a fortune here this afternoon. And Morgan has a double.
Hayne's pass to Chase Blair was called back as the Eels threatened once more.
Now he gives it to Chase Blair. They're going to say, though, the pass was forward.
I haven't gone off this year. I've been pretty good. That is an absolute shocker.
At half-time, Parramatta 10, Cronulla 6. Hayne was jumping out of his skin and almost into our laps.
Almost a nasty collision there with the camera.
The Eels had the numbers to forge ahead, but they fluffed their lines.
Tipped on by Kelly, but the pass, the tip on was forward.
Paul Gallen felt like he had old Cumberland mud in his eye.
Don't try that at home.
The captain then punished for a push, and Chris Sando made it a 6-point game. Cronulla butchered a try-scoring chance when Stuart Mills looked for Nathan Stapleton.
He fires a pass for Stapleton, who was going to score. Had the pass gone to hand, it was just too wide.
The Eels then got the vital 7-point break in the last 6 minutes.
He gave some space for Luke Kelly. Kelly adds the extra point.
A big about-face by the Eels from last Monday, extending the winning record against the Sharks at this venue to 3 games. Full-time Parramatta 13, Cronulla 6. Charles Christian, NRL.com.
The embattled Sharks were without the still-injured Todd Carney for their clash with the informed Seagulls, and it was the home side landing the first blow in the Battle of the Beaches.
They go to the left. Quick hands and an opening. Justin Horrow straight through, bringing Brookvale to life.
When Daly Cherry Evans sent up an ordinary-looking bomb, he quickly made amends.
He kicks. And Gordon is knocked down safely. It's been plucked from in front of his face by Daly Cherry Evans.
How good was that from Cherry Evans?
It was shaping up to be a long afternoon at Brookie for Cronulla.
Simons runs and scores. Tommy Simons continues to deliver for Manly.
The Seagulls smashing holes through the middle with alarming ease.
Here's Brett Stewart. Upfield and kicking for his outside men. Cherry Evans flying in a race with Stapleton, who gets there just in time.
After proving his credentials once in defence, Nathan Stapleton did it again.
Looking for Lyon, who's good in the air, but so is Stapleton, and now he's away. Chased by Hiku. Stapleton over halfway. Matai coming from the other side, but Stapleton has both of their measures and goes the length.
Steve Matai tried to knock the wind out of the visitors' sails.
A Matai special on Jason Bakuya.
And the Sharks returned the favour.
That was a tough tackle, Wade Graham.
The two sides slugging it out like prize fighters as the clock ran down.
Here's Gordon, now Pomeroy. Pomeroy going himself and bouncing it as he tried to get to ground.
But it was Manly retiring to the sheds with a 10-point advantage. That was cut to just 4 after Cronulla made use of numbers on the left.
Quick hands, Mills on to Stapleton. He wears 2 and he has 2 this afternoon.
While the Seagulls suffered a bitter blow when Joe Nullavow was stretchered off after an awkward landing. Making his NRL debut, Peter Hiku found a little room on the right.
Peter Hiku down the sideline, in front of the hill, and it's been ruled forward.
Soon after, the roles were reversed and the veteran made no mistake in laying one on for the rookie.
Here's a hole for Brett Stewart to go outside. Debutant Peter Hiku, welcome to Brookvale Oval. The man who nearly, or almost nearly, scores at Brookvale, this time delivers.
Manly next probed the left-hand side via the pinpoint boot of Kieran Foran.
They kick towards Tafua. Mills was up. Matai looping round the back and crossing for the simplest of 4-pointers.
But the plucky Sharks still had plenty of fight.
Morris to Robson. Now Graham. This is Hyington back at the angle. He comes back to Robson. Now Townsend. Pomeroy. Is there any way through? Ben Pomeroy to Stuart Mills. There is a way through.
With regular kicker Michael Gordon sidelined with a leg injury, Chad Townsend stepped up for the conversion.
From the western sideline, it looks good, it's great.
With just a converted try separating the sides, Cherry Evans took matters into his own hands.
Plenty of time, the drop goal is home.
It was a gutsy effort from both sides in the bruising contest. The Sea Eagles' 7-point victory earning them 2 competition points and the Steve Rogers Trophy. Melinda Farrell, NRL.com.
Both sides have been considered good things to make the top 8. Both had endured some major off-field dramas. And with just 3 wins between them in 2013, both Cronulla and Canterbury were getting pretty desperate as well. The Sharks received a sizable boost in the shape of Todd Carney's return from a foot problem, and the former Dally M medal winner should have been first on the score sheet.
We threw it over the top of Carney's head, picked up by the wing and centre right. Right circles around, he's lost it backwards, Carney knock on. Wow, had a butcher try.
After being kept scoreless in their previous outing, Canterbury came up with points on the back of their first attacking foray.
High kick, well placed, they all go up for it. Comes down with Canterbury, does it? Referee has a look, he's checking with a touch judge. It'll be a Canterbury try. Parrott maybe. It is a try.
With Carney on song, the Sharks weren't wanting for opportunities, but their finishing was simply woeful.
And he's got support, he threw a dummy, he broke the tackle anyway. Lewis on his inside, they must score. He went the wrong way. He went the wrong way. Pinch me, I'm dreaming.
In sharp contrast to the shaky Sharkies, Canterbury's conversion rate was vastly superior.
Blindside Ennis into the in goal, rebounded away from Carney, 6 to go. Barber with it around the corner, they'll score. Mitch Brown's in.
The scoreline may have been somewhat misleading, but the Dogs didn't mind as they went to half-time with a 10-point break. And as it so often does, the new half brought a change in fortune and composure for the side that was trailing.
Lewis, beautiful ball, and Graham into space. Lewis on the inside. They can't butcher this one. Lewis scores a great try, improved his position under the post. They're back. The Sharks at 12-6, kick the cup.
And there is the first one. Very strong on that side. Wade Graham's made a difference since coming in off the bench.
However, those bad old habits quickly returned for Cronulla, with the captain culpable on this occasion.
Drift across, beautiful ball to Gallo. He's into the space and knocked it on.
And he would have been even crankier 3.5 minutes later.
They go that way, Hodgkinson out the back. Great ball away from Pritchard to Brown, who comes around and scores in the end. A simple try, well read by Canterbury. The referee points to the spot. They lead by 16-8.
Carney's current teammates hadn't been on the same page as the gifted pivot, but a former teammate was able to read him.
Oh, there's the interceptor, there's the ball going, taken by Parrott, thrown by Carney, and Parrott goes in to score the try that puts Canterbury perhaps back on the premiership race.
With the Bulldogs wingers bagging the last 2 tries, last year's minor premiers were home and hosed, snapping a 4-match losing streak that might just spark their revival. David Rowlands, NRL.com. It was a confrontation between 2 teams heading in opposite directions. A Cronulla club weighed down by off-field frustration against a Newcastle side that had quietly crept up into 5th spot on the Telstra Premiership table. There was one vital ingredient missing at kick-off though.
And Hunter, we are cleared for kick-off. The only problem, Chris Houston has one. There is no football.
And the Sharks might have wished the play never got underway as they surrendered Paul Gallen to knee damage with the game just 2 minutes old. And as the inspirational captain hobbled back to the sheds, Dane Gagai loped across the stripe.
Now Boyd, here's Gagai with a fang. Dane Gagai gets an early 4-pointer for the Knights. What a start for the home team.
To Cronulla's great credit, they swiftly put their diabolical start behind them.
Carney, long to Jonathan Wright, and Jonathan Wright goes through. Carney providing the service, Wright to finish, and the Sharks are up and running.
5 minutes later, the Sharks received a small sign that their fortunes may have been changing for the better.
Robson along the ground, it's a good kick, not cleaned up. Now it's planted by Jonathan Wright.
This is my last tackle. I've got to try. Just make sure he doesn't touch it on the way through there.
Referee Badger's positive opinion proved crucial because the men upstairs weren't given clear reason to overturn it. Not surprisingly, the locals weren't too thrilled with that verdict, but they channeled their anger in the right way to hit back shortly before the break.
Gidley into a hole. Farlongo scores for Newcastle. They have the lead again.
At 2 tries apiece, Kurt Gidley's 3 goals from as many attempts made the difference at the midway mark. And the spirited Sharkies needed less than 4 minutes of second half footy to square things up once more.
Here's Fafita with one big fin. Now he heads across field. Goes to Gordon. Outside to Bo Ryan. And the Sharks go in again.
With Gallen gone for the afternoon and possibly a couple of weeks, Cronulla looked to Luke Lewis, who came to the party by sending Michael Gordon on a thrilling gallop, which led to Todd Carney cashing in on the next tackle.
Carney holding it up. Todd Carney! Carney scores for the Sharks, and they lead for the first time.
However, remaining there in the closing quarter was always going to represent a sizable challenge, as the Novocastrians posed plenty of questions.
The offload, McKinnon. Here's Tyrone Roberts. Newcastle score. They will kick to level us up. Tyrone Roberts popping up at the right time again for Newcastle.
Italy's conversion locked it up at 20-20, and the final stages became a field goal frenzy, with both teams taking plenty of pot shots. None of them could find the mark, and the NRL had its first golden point period of 2013, which proved to be priceless for the embattled black, white and blues.
Robson to win it for the Sharks. The Knights have been beaten at home for the first time in 2013.
That may well go down as one of the most stirring triumphs in Cronulla's history. Victory by 21-20, a day to remember. David Rowlands, NRL.com. This was the NRL's version of a high school reunion, as a Cronulla outfit featuring 5 ex-Tigers tackled the Black and Golds at Allianz Stadium. But for one of them in Bo Ryan, it was hardly a happy homecoming, as he got crunched on an early carry by a couple of much bigger opponents.
Using all sorts, Bo. Here it is now, bang.
Despite the clear contact from defender's shoulder to the attacker's head, Sayaso Su somehow managed to not only avoid being reported, but penalised as well. Instead of having the ball deep in the opposition's territory, the Sharks then found themselves in defensive mode.
Suleiman out the back, Tedesco around the outside of Utah. That's a great try as the pass comes in ready. They're checking, but they're going to point to the spot. It'll be 4-0 West Tigers. Kick to come out wide. And that's how they rule.
Todd Carney made the first repayment on his freshly inked 5-year contract with a perfectly placed up and under.
It's coming down for Corabetti, and he took it beautifully, and then he's forced back. He threw it away. It's there. Can't be thrown by Cronulla. Oh, calm down, Freddie, calm down. Fafita's forced it.
As fate would have it, a Tiger-turned-Shark grabbed Cronulla's opening score by simply being in the right place at the right time. Corabetti's blunder was duly noted by Carney, who continued to pepper the young winger with cross kicks. And the Sharks were a tad unlucky not to double their score when video referees Jason Robinson and Matt Rodwell didn't have enough evidence to overturn the on-field verdict. With that one being disallowed, the two tribes went to half-time locked at 6-6. Ryan returned from Disneyland to prevent good mate Benji Marshall from finding touch from a penalty. And the magnitude of that play was evident some 60 seconds later.
Now the ball away on the outside. Peggy back on the inside of Ryan. Great skill. What a great try. Oh, Robson, magnificent, running his last tackle. And the referee is about to point to the spot.
After successfully running the ball on the last, Cronulla opted to resume their air raid.
Tedesco stands his ground and lost it. And then regathered it, lost it again. That's a try. I think McKee got there. That will be a Sharks try. And he points to the spot immediately. Back-to-back tries. Great score.
Nobody in a West jersey was safe with Carney lobbing explosives.
Kick over the top, coming down on the goal line. They go high. It's plucked out of the air by the winger. I think he scored. Feaking. Let's have a look. What does the referee say?
The decision makers, both upstairs and downstairs, said yes. confirming Cronulla's third try in 9 minutes. The next quarter of the match wasn't so inspiring though, and it wasn't until the closing stages that Shane Flanagan's side added another one.
Robson, they played it and back to Lewis, lobs it over the top. John O'Wright didn't touch it, and Fetty goes in for another try as they point to the spot.
So even without Paul Gallen, the so-called Tiger Sharks were far too good, cruising to victory on the strength of 24 unanswered second-half points. David Rowlands, NRL.com.
Canberra arrived with 4 wins over the last 5 rounds, including a 30-point thumping of Newcastle last week. Like the Raiders, Cronulla came in with a 2-match winning streak. Luke Lewis was a late withdrawal, replaced by Jason Bakuya. Centre Jack Whiten showed the Raiders' backs are not all about attack.
Good shot. A massive tackle from the Raiders.
Obstruction claims were ruled out when Todd Carney's cutout pass to Jonathan Wright put Cronulla on the board.
Onto the chest of Wright, who gets past 1 or 2 Raiders and scores first for the home team.
Visitors to Shark Stadium must keep a lookout at all times.
And nailed for his trouble by Sam Tagatese. That's what you get for running crossfield at Shark Park, says Slamming Sam.
Cronulla doubled the lead when Jeff Robson found a 32-year-old prop in full cry.
Here's Ben Ross, the big front rower. Hit an even bigger hole. Back-to-back tries for the Sharks.
His first try since 2011 when he scored for Souths against the Raiders. Midway through the half, 18-year-old Anthony Milford came off the bench and followed Sean Fensom's half-break.
Anthony Milford, he's fast, he's skillful, and he'll go all the way himself. Anthony Milford. The Raiders' Tyro scores his first NRL try.
A third Sharks try beckoned when Ben Pomeroy found open spaces.
Support in field, the ball to Isaac de Gois, and he gets there just.
At half-time, Cronulla 18, Canberra 6. The Raiders were first to score in the second half when Milford's kick became a lottery on the Sharks' line.
Anyone's ball picked up and grounded by the Raiders. Blake Ferguson is claiming the 4-pointer.
His 6th try in 3 games. Fensom had to make do with less than 20/20 vision before the Sharks scored against the run of play.
Intercepted by Jason Bakuya, chased by Campese. Bakuya skips away from Campese, and Jason Bakuya.
Into the last quarter of the match, Canberra crossed twice in 3 minutes. Terry Campese went to the air.
Towards Edric Lee. Whiten jumped. He's a noted leaper, and there's some dividends.
Milford then turned on the sparkle to get the Raiders within 4 points.
Still going, Anthony Milford gives it to McIlrick. McIlrick with an offload. Milford with 1 already. Now 2. The best set of the game with a golden finish for the Canberra Raiders.
Andrew Fafita started on the bench and got one of the loudest cheers 10 minutes from the end.
Andrew Fafita spinning his way to a key try for the Sharks.
The Sharks' 20th home win in 28 matches with Canberra. Full-time Cronulla 30, Canberra 20. Charles Christian, NRL.com. New South Wales selections Paul Gallen and Luke Lewis were late withdrawals from a Cronulla team aiming to win 4 in a row, while Nathan Gardner came in for injured fullback Michael Gordon. Souths forward George Burgess gave Gardner a glancing welcome back to the NRL.
A little bit of whiplash there from Nathan Gardner.
John Morris found the Rabbitohs' goal line defence too flimsy.
Going himself from dummy half, getting across and getting the ball down eventually.
Dylan Walker ran into a tough school of Sharks.
Now a chance to take the Rabbitohs out of play on the very first carry.
Souths had won 9 out of 10 before this round, including the last 4, and this try emphasised the fluency in their left-sided attack.
Inglis, Walker, away to Goodwin, diving for the corner, and it looked as though he got there as well. The Rabbitohs have responded. grounded.
Sam Tagatese needed a touch-up. Bo Ryan couldn't stop the ball from heading into touch, while Isaac de Gois needed just a touch more to score.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Still not. No try.
The arm wrestle in the rain relaxed, thanks to a deflection from Carney's kick.
Sutton put a boot out on the Carney kick. Bakuya picks it up, and this time the Sharks are in. Straight to Bakuya, who was able to do the rest.
Sam Burgess was placed on report for this tackle on Andrew Fafita, as the Sharks hobbled to stay in front. At half-time, Cronulla 12, South 6. After the resumption, Chris McQueen's kick opened an opportunity for Bryson Goodwin.
Grubbers, and Grubbers well. A chance. Goodwin was there. Denied by Gardner and Ryan.
The Rabbitohs drew level a few minutes later when Sam Burgess latched onto Reynolds' pass.
Sam Burgess through the gap. He's tried and tried again. This time they can't stop him.
Carney converted a close-range penalty into a 14-12 lead, as Fafita went close to increasing the margin soon after.
Out the back for Fafita, but there was a whistle for a forward pass.
Chris Heinington timed his run sweetly on Lowe.
Oh, Ben Lowe cut in half almost by Chris Heinington.
No penalty issued when Jason Bakuya struck Sutton.
Wooska, bang.
The Sharks reversed the round 2 result by the same score to consolidate their place in the top 8. Full-time Cronulla 14, Souths 12. Charles Christian, NRL.com.
"250 NRL games, a super effort from Cameron Smith, one of the most durable players in the game despite living in the body of an accountant. The Queensland captain backed up from State of Origin alongside Cooper Cronk.
Game is a shot for a 40-20 from Melbourne. Will go very close. In fact, it is a 40-20.
Cronk kick-starting Melbourne's night.
To Cronk. Options flat and deep to Widdop. Now here's a hole. There's the first try. Maurice Blair off the back of a Cooper Cronk 40-20.
An error from Michael Gordon at the back had the Storm right back on the attack.
This is Hoffman. Straight. Ryan Hoffman.
No dramas with obstruction. Blues back rower Ryan Hoffman crashing over. Billy Slater suffered a strained neck, preventing a Ben Pomeroy try. Turning defence into attack, Melbourne raced away to an 18-0 lead.
Chips outside for Chambers. The ball's been dropped again. Proctor can pick it up and score. A third try for the Melbourne Storm. The second from a Cronulla error. As the Storm get away now.
Cronulla just kept copping the rough end of the pineapple.
Cronk drives it straight into Jonathan Wright. Play, that is the ruling. Now the lunge from Graham didn't clean up. Tohu Harris scores for Melbourne. We will check it. No. Ashley Klein says good enough for me. 22-0 to the Melbourne Storm.
Gareth Widdop put the foot down. Cronulla caught idling.
Smith to Widdop. There's a hole. Gareth Widdop. And there's the fifth try. They are cutting the Sharks to shreds.
This was one-way traffic. Melbourne with a 28-0 half-time lead. Throwing passes into touch, kicking out on the full. The Sharks were punishing themselves.
Now Widdop runs across field, still going Widdop. He kicks a simple pick-up. And game 50 for Justin O'Neill will be celebrated with a try.
This was absolute child's play for Melbourne as Billy the Kid chimed into the back line.
Inside, it is Billy Slater. Super Slater tonight with another Melbourne try.
Suspended Cronulla captain Paul Gallen was stranded in the coach's box with Shane Flanagan. The pair witnessing a capitulation of embarrassing proportions. Bo Ryan scoring a try that was anything but consolation. The Storm damage 38 points to 6. Liam Cox, NRL.com.
Parramatta had 6 wins in 9 previous visits to Sharks Stadium, while Cronulla welcomed back Origin skipper Paul Gallen from suspension, aiming to make amends for the Sharks' round 5 loss to the lowly Eels. Cronulla winger Sasaya Feki believed he got to the corner in time for the opening try, but it was disallowed after he stepped into touch well before he set off. A let-off for the Eels, who responded spectacularly.
Morgan goes a long way. He gives it away to Ken Seo, and the Eels go the length of the field and score the opening try tonight. Beautiful hands down the left edge.
Wade Graham broke into open spaces to set up the Sharks' equaliser.
Through the tackle of Lussick. Only Mullaney in front of him. He comes to the fullback. Gives it to Robson for the line. He got it down as well.
All you need to score is one hand and a split second to ground it. Parramatta looked to Matt Ryan to make headway. Cronulla had Beau Ryan to stop him.
Stepping through defenders. Cut down by Beau Ryan.
The Eels took a shock lead when Chase Blair showed flair.
And a ball giving it away to Willie Army, who dives for the corner and scores. A lovely piece of play. What a moment for Braden Williami, who turns 21 later this year, grabbing his first 4-pointer in the big time.
A contentious penalty for stripping the ball, and Chris Sando extended the Eels' lead.
He makes no mistake here either. Straight down the middle.
At half-time, Parramatta 14, Cronulla 6. Within 2 minutes, the Shark skipper raised the standard.
Running to the line, giving it to Gallen! Gallen reaching out. He started it at the other end. He finishes it here.
Todd Carney levelled the scores with a penalty goal soon after. Fui Moi Moi was placed on report for this hit on Beau Ryan.
He did.
Cronulla hit the lead with their back rowers showing fine ball skills.
Giving it to Tupou, out the back for Robson. Robson's in again. What hands by the Sharks' back rowers.
A former Eels forward put the Sharks in the clear.
Morris showing as a dummy. They fell for it. And it's all Cronulla now. The Sharks are right on top.
Cronulla hit high gear, and Joseph Paulo did well to save the Eels from conceding another try.
Paulo under pressure. Coming down with it was Todd Carney. He didn't get the ball on the turf.
Sharks fans didn't have to wait too long to see a cracking piece of action. Gallen a vital cog in the setup.
It comes away to Stapleton, who chips over the top. A race against Mullaney. He gets a bounce and 4 points.
Now that's something for Stapleton to shout about in his 50th game. Full-time Cronulla 32, Parramatta 14. Charles Christian, NRL.com.
There was the odd mad cow happy to have the North Queensland side back in Townsville for the clash against Cronulla, while injured.
This crew at bay. Thompson sends it the short side, and this is
Sims getting the ball away for Linnett to get down low and get into the end goal, but could he get to the grass? Yes is your answer.
Ashton Sims found himself on report after a second effort with the knee left the claret flowing.
There was a knee to the face from Ashton Sims. Stapleton didn't like it, and the blood illustrates the contact.
Penalties giving the Sharks field possession, Todd Carney and Luke Lewis doing the rest.
Luke Lewis gets it down, and the Sharks get their first try.
Again, outside in, picks his space. Carney knows exactly where he's going to be. All he needs to do is put it on his chest.
But that was it for the scoring in a tightly contested first half. Both Carney and Jonathan Thurston missing their conversion attempts to leave the scores equal at half-time. In a mirror of the first half, the Cowboys came out of the sheds firing.
Gavin Cooper tries to steamroll his way over. He does. Gavin Cooper puts the Cowboys back in front.
This was often a scrappy encounter with plenty of missed opportunities.
And now Thurston jolts the ball free. He threw it up looking for Linnett.
Despite Jonathan Thurston's efforts, the Cowboys were unable to deliver the knockout blow.
Sitting it up for Sims, who left it behind. He was in if he catches the pass, and now Tupou comes away with it.
With 10 minutes remaining, a penalty gave the North Queensland pivot the chance to make it an 8-point game. And it was no surprise Thurston was Johnny on the spot when Matthew Wright spilled the ball.
It's been dropped by Wright for Thurston to go back in field, and Antonio Winterstein will guarantee a Cowboys victory. A horrible mistake from the men at the back for the Sharks. And Antonio Winterstein says this crowd can really party now.
The game finished as it started, with Kane Linnett charging over.
Kane Linnett with one already. He might just have two.
There was enough time for Thurston to notch up a personal milestone with his 500th goal. Cowboys' late surge earning them a comfortable 20-point victory. Melinda Farrell, NRL.com. There were a host of late changes to the Cronulla side on a day the club was fined $150,000 for breaching the salary cap as they hosted a Tigers outfit on a roll, 4 wins from their previous 5 games. Replacement winger Nathan Stapleton proved his worth when he combined with Jason Bakuya in defence.
Wow, that's defence from Cronulla.
And in the resulting set, Todd Carney handed his skipper a milestone try.
Wade Graham celebrates 100. Wonderful kick, Calvin. Wade Graham, welcome to the 100 club with a try in front of your home crowd.
When the Sharks were under the pump, Carney used his boot in a less conventional fashion with spectacular results.
Picked up by Carney. Carney's away. The chase is coming from Tedesco in number 1. He comes to Carney, brings him down. Got the ball back. Stapleton's around another. He's away. He's looking for the try line. He'll make the try line. Stapleton scores for the Sharks. 95 metres to be precise.
The 5/8 was kicking the Tigers into submission in almost every possible way.
Is that a 40-20? Going fast, Tedesco. Not fast enough. Carney's having a big night.
Next up on the menu, the crossfield variety.
Carney puts it up towards Lawrence, and they've got another one. They've got themselves another one from Luton Lewis. Winning the jump, winning the aerial contest.
It was an error-filled half for the West Tigers, although this defensive effort was a highlight.
Very close to the touchline, he might have put a foot out.
But the visitors' markers were caught napping by a rampaging Andrew Fafita.
Ripping up the middle, inside the 30, found a step, still going, they won't get him. Fafita scores a great try for big man.
Carney was kicking goals too, 4 from 4 to raise the Sharks' tally to 24 points at half-time. The Tigers desperately needed a spark to ignite a comeback. Their captain provided it.
Racing into the backfield, Mills to beat, gets it away, Tedesco with him, and Tedesco scores the opening try of the second half.
And just a few minutes later, it was game on.
Then Marshall, he goes back to a second man, and it's Hogan Thompson for the line, he's bounced over. There was movement in the try, there was movement still there.
This time it was Robbie Farah's turn to punish the slow markers.
It's been towed again by Sheridan. Oh, he gets been a fall, and Simona has scored.
But the Tigers' momentum was halted when Benji Marshall's penalty kick failed to find touch. It started to swing back the other way when Ben Murdoch-Masila was penalised for a high shot, and the Sharks made the most of the gifted possession.
Carney away to Bakuya. Yes! Bakuya has scored for the Sharks.
In a game that seemed to have everything, a short kick-off put the Tigers on the front foot.
Lawrence has got the ball to Simona, and Simona has scored his second try.
The margin had been cut to 8 points and it could have been less. But the video referees ruled an obstruction from Murdoch-Masila. Fafita showed his speed with a crucial cover tackle.
He's gone back to his old, that's like an old lock forward.
And with 4 minutes remaining, the giant prop smashed his way over.
Here's Fafita, he'll be hard to stop, you're understating it.
The Sharks fending off the Tigers' second half surge to claim a 14-point victory. Melinda Farrell, NRL.com. favour with New South Wales selectors, it was a big night for Todd Carney, notching up 150 NRL games in Brisbane against the out-of-sorts Broncos. It almost had the fairy tale beginning.
Carney attacks the line. He fires a bullet-like pass and Stapleton scores. Oh, what a ball. It's gone forward. They've called it back.
And things didn't improve for the visitors when stand-in skipper Wade Graham suffered a shoulder injury. Carney's kicking game was creative, but so was Jonathan Wright's.
He puts it on the foot. It's gone down further. Still, it's in the field of play. It's still in the field of play. Oh, Brisbane. I think Scott Prince has cleaned it up and put it dead.
It was a rugged and frantic first half, but neither side could find the line. And it was a rare meal of donuts all around at the midway mark. Things were just as torrid in the second half. Mark Tafua on report for a shoulder charge on Peter Wallace.
It's not a shoulder charge, he had his arm out.
Brisbane were building up steam, but the Cronulla defence was made of the right stuff.
Puts the ball on the ground, on the foot, he'll score, but he knows. Cleaned up by Jonathan Wright.
When Carney broke through, the Broncos showed they could scramble just as well.
He's inside the 20. Oh, Peachy's picked up.
And after nearly 52 frenetic minutes, the deadlock was broken.
Here is Hunt putting numbers on the blind side. Hoffman must score. Hoffman goes in to score for the Broncos. 14th try of the year. Second only behind McManus from Newcastle.
Not for long though, Michael Gordon celebrating his return from injury.
Let's go to Carney. Carney away for Gordon. There they are, Cronulla. They've gone in to score, the Sharks. Michael Gordon.
With tired bodies all over the park, the holes were opening up for the Sharks 5'8".
Down the right side, support coming, Bakuya. Bakuya's on his way to the cherry stand. And he puts it down at the Caxton Street end.
For his next trick, Carney launched a torpedo that all but exploded on impact.
Oh, Norman has left it there, and that is a try defecting for Cronulla.
And for good measure, the number 6 increased the margin to 13.
Is that a shot for drop goal from Carney? I think it is. I think he's got it. Put another one down for Todd Carney.
But the Broncos weren't done. Scott Prince putting Corey Oates through a hole.
And here's Corey Oates. He'll score. Yes, the 18-year-old who debuted last weekend.
And a cracking finish was on the cards when Brisbane shifted to the left with less than 2 minutes remaining.
Then Hoffman puts a little bat on it. He's hoping for the winger. Kahu has scored! Kahu has scored!
It was helter-skelter all the way to the siren and beyond.
Wallace holds it back, gets it away. Hooter in the background, Prince kicks. He's looking to get a ball away to Miranda on the right wing. He gets the ball back on the inside. McCullough gives the ball to Ben Hunt. Ben Hunt decides he'll kick. He puts it back into the middle of the ground. Peter Wallace tries to get a hand on it. Hoffman's got the ball. Hoffman got the ball away. It's gone from Alex Glenn to the ground, and that's the end of the ball game.
But Carney's drop goal was the difference. Cronulla holding off a late charge for the second week in a row to claim a 1-point victory. Melinda Farrell, NRL.com.
Sonny Bill Williams omitted with a hamstring strain, Paul Gallen a foot injury, Luke Lewis a torn calf, while Mitchell Pearce was in a jubilant mood despite Wednesday's State of Origin loss. The besieged halfback set up a Blues debutant for the Roosters' first try.
His friend at the back, Pearce for Boyd Cordner. A power set of 6 by the Roosters.
One of the game's form hookers made a mockery of Cronulla's defence.
Pearce on this left-hand side, Friend throwing it dummy, catching everybody out.
Jason Bakuya copped a heavy hit from Michael Jennings. If that didn't hurt enough, he poked himself in the eye for good measure. He didn't want to see the carnage unfolding before him.
Maloney giving it to Cordner, holding it out, giving it to Jennings, back on the inside. Oh, it doesn't get much better than that. They are the Harlem Globetrotters. It's the razzle-dazzle Roosters tonight.
The Roosters carving Cronulla up.
Friend of a quick play the ball. Pearce giving it to Kenny Down. He spins across. Everybody queuing up for tries here tonight.
Mitchell Pearce putting on a passing masterclass.
Pearce, flat ball, corner. What a delicious pass by Mitchell Pearce. Absolutely threading the needle.
The Bondi boys dominating with 5 first-half tries. Muscling up, Chad Townsend was placed on report.
As Minicello goes head first.
That was a rare moment. Cronulla put shoulders into their defence.
Now a flat pass again for Sam Moa. He reached out. It looked as though he got there.
The bounce of the ball, everything favoured the hosts.
Pearce was up very flat. He thought Maloney was going to put a kick in. Orbison! He picks it up and goes all the way to score.
Michael Jennings succumbed to an ankle injury as Cronulla felt the pain of a 40-point flogging. Liam Cox, NRL.com.
The Pink Panthers came to the Shire in search of a top 8 berth against a Sharks side needing to bounce back from a Roosters hiding. Back from injury, Wade Graham provided the switch that turned on the scoreboard.
It's Carney giving it for Graham. The inside ball for Michael Gordon. The fullback is over again.
Livewire James Seguiaro was dangerous out of dummy half.
He stayed low and he steals a try.
But it was all in vain, with the hooker penalised for boring through his teammates' legs. Both sides had their chances. One of Cronulla's best came at the end of a Todd Carney floater.
Becky, Hubbard comes across. Becky infield. A nice step. Sire Becky. Held up in goal.
In the end, it was the Sharks pivot taking on the challenge and the hot pink line.
Carney dummies and runs. Todd Carney. Over he goes. The pressure pays off.
Though Sisaya Feki wasn't one to be denied.
Right, now there's a chance for Feki. One-on-one with Moylan. Moylan won't get there. Sisaya Feki dives over in the corner.
The Panthers had no reply to a dominant display by the home side. 20-0, the halftime score. The battle resumed with a clash of the Slam and Sams.
Oh, the collision! Sam Tagatese! On Sam Anderson, 10 metres out. Welcome to the second half.
The Panthers under the pump, another wound inflicted by their former teammate.
The long ball from Graham to Gordon to Grubber and chase and get a bounce. Michael Gordon gets his second.
There was hope when Matt Moylan chased down a Luke Walsh boot.
Goes towards the in-goal with a kick and it will roll too far just. The try is claimed by Moylan.
The grounding was okay, but the men upstairs ruled the Penrith fullback was offside. The visitors had a better result when Moylan took on the kicking duties himself.
Goes deep for Moylan to kick towards the in-goal. James Roberts gets there first and gets some points for the Panthers.
And the Panthers custodian had a hand in the next left side raid.
Deep for Moylan. Now quick hands, Lewis Brown, James Roberts jumping around, reaching.
The replays were somewhat inconclusive, and that was enough to ensure the initial try ruling was upheld. But any chance of a serious fight back was snuffed out when Ben Pomeroy plucked a signature Carney ball from the air.
Goes long into the hands of Pomeroy. There's the half century. In game 150 for the Sharks, he gets his 50th try for Cronulla.
And with the clock winding down, there was just enough time to put an exclamation point on the win.
Carney kicks, looking for Feki. Feki dived. The crowd went up.
The original call was no try, but another look showed Feki somehow grounding the ball cleanly. Carney's conversion made it 7 kicks from as many attempts to cap off a 28-point victory. Melinda Farrell, NRL.com.
Newcastle's draw with Brisbane the night before had cleared the way for the New Zealand Warriors to gatecrash the top 8. However, standing in their way was the imposing figure of Paul Gallen, who was playing his first match since sustaining foot damage in the second State of Origin encounter. The skipper's mere presence gave everyone in black, white and blue an instant lift.
Carney to Graham, a skillful play, beautiful ball. Absolutely beautiful from Wade Graham. He threaded the needle for Jonathan Wright, and the Sharks lead here at Mount Smart.
The Warriors looked nothing like the side that had toppled Premiers Melbourne 6 days earlier, with Felipe Mateo's mistake being a classic example, proving especially costly as Cronulla cashed in through a simple scrum-based move.
They go short side, they go little scrum pull, and straight go! Straight through goes Pomeroy off Gallen. Well, what happened there? The doors opened up, and Pomeroy runs through and says, how do you like them apples?
It took the home team nearly half an hour to make a dent in the Sharks' defence.
Johnson out to Nielsen with a dummy. Nielsen! There is money! The post has got it now. Yes, sir. He doesn't normally go 2 weeks without a try. And suddenly this crowd, they found their voice.
So the Warriors were on the board, but still found themselves trailing at the break by 10 points to 4. The second term opened up in sensational circumstances when Cronulla employed a dangerous mix of luck and skill.
They picked it up through Fafita. He can run. He's got a 60-minute try already this year. Beautiful ball. Robson is going to throw the long one. A high pass fielded by Pomeroy. Sharks are 10 metres out and Pomeroy has left it. Picked up by Stapleton. Well, hang on a second. The Maso lost and knocked down by the Warriors.
Video referees Paul Mellor and Justin Morgan had plenty of homework to do with that one, but found that every questionable aspect of the play passed the test. From Andrew Fafita being onside at the kick deflection to Ben Pomeroy's final pass being okay as well. Not that the Sharks centre knew anything about it after hitting his head heavily as he fell, and he was taken from the field in the Medicab. Fellow outside back Sayasaya Feki suffered a different kind of misfortune when he was denied 4 points because technically he had come from outside the field of play. That left Gallen rather perplexed, but determined to seek some compensation, which came after he did any New Zealand farmer proud by milking this one for all it was worth, allowing Todd Carney to take Cronulla's advantage past 2 converted tries.
And he gets that one. It's the Sharks edging closer to a victory here.
Conrad Hurrell eroded some of that deficit with just over 10 to go.
Johnson out to Hurrell. Takes on scores one for Mrs. H.
Then 4 minutes later, the fast-finishing Warriors went to the other flank.
Up goes Stapleton! Madube has gone higher! And Madube has scored for the Warriors! Now it's 18 points to 12!
Johnson's conversion made the difference 4, and he nearly completed his side's audacious comeback when he cracked Cronulla open in the closing stages, only to find that Hurrell couldn't keep up. To the Sharks' relief, they were able to hang on and take a much-deserved success that has given their finals bid a massive boost. David Rowlands, NRL.com.
Danny Badiris overtook Andrew Johns as Newcastle's longest-serving player with 250 first-grade games, stretching back to 1997. Cronulla had lost 5 of the previous 6 against the Knights and looked to consolidate a place in the top 8. The Sharks pressed hard to score the opening try, and Wade Graham missed out narrowly as Newcastle made heavy weather of the clean-up in goal. Paul Gallen's hit and spin paved the way for Cronulla in the 10th minute.
Gets an offload back to Morris. Andrew Fafita feeding on the offloads, and the Sharks have the first try.
The Knights searched for a quick reply, but Joey Leilua was shoved over the sideline, boots and all.
And the flag goes up. Once the touchy finds his feet.
Jared Mullen's crossfield bomb raised alarm bells.
Towards the wing of Fiki. And Uarte, who gets it and goes to Gagai. Pulled by his coattails, but not hard enough.
His last try was against the Sharks 11 games ago.
Dane Gagai gets Newcastle going.
After missing 8 matches with a foot injury, Kurt Gidley provided points for the Knights.
From the western sideline, curling it straight over the docks.
Graham's kick landed just a shark's fin too far for a couple of hungry chasers.
There's no one home, and the bounce speaks Jonathan Wright.
Ben Pomeroy's raised arm on Kurt Gidley placed him on report.
Well, it didn't make direct contact with his head. It was up around the neck area.
Gidley converted the ensuing penalty from close range, and Newcastle went to the break leading Cronulla 8 points to 6. Former Sharks forward Cade Snowden lost the handle just as he was about to place the ball over the line. It proved important. The Knights couldn't defuse Todd Carney's bomb.
Mullen is there and drops it. Kick through by Graham. He dives on the ball to get Cronulla back in front.
Neville Costigan's defence caused a productive turnover for Newcastle.
Now there's a bit of possession for Tyrone Roberts. Newcastle force an error and take 4 points as a result.
The match all square at 12. Snowden was placed on report for this hit on Carney. Jeremy Smith's stray boot kicked the ball out of Fafita's hands and Carney converted the penalty.
From 30 out, the flags are up.
The Knights snatched victory in the dying minutes. Mullen with a crossfield kick and Gagai Surge with a leap to win the match.
Numbers there for Newcastle. Dane Gagai gets the Knights back in front. Desperate Newcastle come up with a key play.
Full-time Newcastle 18, Cronulla 14. Charles Christian, NRL.com.